welcome to episode 15 of Impacted. And this week, you will notice I'm joined by the boss. The boss definitely coming to this week. Obviously, as all listeners are aware, unfortunately, Joeker is still in hospital recovering. We wish him well, but we just, we thought we'd had it's been off the air for a good couple of weeks, but we thought, you know what, you guys need to have a show. So the boss stepped up and offered to join me today to talk about today's guest, the one and only Willie Mack. What do you think about that, boss?
Hey, listen. Well, let me introduce to anybody who might not know who I am. This is Trent from Total Nonstop IMPACT, the flagship show. I don't know if Bison, you're honoring me with calling me the boss. I don't know. There's three of us. I don't know how Kyle is going to take to that, or J-Bone's going to take to that. J-Bone's too nice. J-Bone might say, that's fine. But Kyle, the scumbag might give me a little trouble with that title. But if it's your show, you're calling me the boss, I'm going to go with
it. No problem. And to be fair, if it was Kyle or Jay, I'd probably call them the boss too.
It's nice to know that you're playing it fair. But listen, I want to say, listen, it's nice I appreciate you bringing me on to TNI UK for Impacted. Best wishes to Joe. I'm sitting in Joe's seat. By no means is this a replacement. We figured, like Bison said, we needed a show. Wanted to get something out for Impacted. I know Joe's still recovering, so we want to at least put something out. Figure I'd pop in for a quick Willie Mack episode. And then, maybe until Joe comes back, maybe J-Bone can do one. Maybe Kyle can guest on one. We'll see what happens. But Joe, we're just keeping the seat warm for you. Don't think we're sitting in it. We're just keeping it temporarily occupied until you come back.
Exactly. Got to keep the seat warm, haven't we? That's
Absolutely.
The thing. At the end of the day, he doesn't want to be sat down on a cold seat. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So, like we said, this week we are dealing with the one and only Willie Mack. Now, Trent, this guy is an incredible talent, and I've been really looking forward to delving into the time on Impact of Willie Mack. He's a great talent, got an incredible skill. Now, what I want to do is every Impacted, I normally go straight into doing like a little facts and stats moment.
Mm-hmm.
Whether all of this stuff is factually true, I don't know. I just get it all from the internet, and fingers crossed it is. Now,
well, if it's on the internet, Bison, it has to be true. That's what they say, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. If the guy down the pub told you it's true, it must be.
It must be true.
This is fact. It must be true. So he's from the great city of St. Louis in Missouri. Now, I'm hoping that when I say some of these things that you're going to be able to collaborate them as well, because I'm thinking, being the oracle of wrestling, I'm sure you probably know some of this stuff better than I do.
I'll tell you what. As far as his hometown, I can't confirm or deny. I know he's in Vegas now. That's what I do know. But
yeah,
I worked with him only a few times at AAW. We brought him in Chicago personally, but St. Yeah, I guess he is from St. Louis. I didn't know that, but he's billed from California. So
yeah, that's what it said. Interestingly enough, that's what it said. I mean, it says he resides in Las Vegas, yes. But he's originally from St. Louis or St. Louis. Sorry. Yeah. Now his build height is 5'10", which is really interesting because I'm 5'10", and when I saw him in New York back in November, I actually thought he was a little bit taller than me. But so I'm not sure on that. I'm not sure on the 5'10". I think he may be 5'11", maybe a bit taller, maybe just under 6 foot.
Okay. He's got those boots. He's got those boots. I mean, maybe it's the wrestling boots.
You never know. It might make the difference. And he's also billed at 280 pounds. Now, in English terms, that's 20 stone.
Right. So what is the measurement of stone? Give me I do like calling it stone because as the more weight we gain as we get older, saying 20 stone sounds a lot better than saying 280 pounds. To us it sounds heavy. I say 20 stone. That's no big deal. 20 is nothing.
But it's basically 14 pounds to the stone.
Ah, I see. I'm gonna start measuring my weight in stone, and my mother will probably be a lot happier with me then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I'm 21 stone, so he's 20 stone.
Okay.
And I know how difficult it is to get up off the floor and things like that when you're let down. So believe you me, when you see this man move in the ring,
Incredible.
it's incredible to see what he can do. I mean, a guy of 20 stone or 280 pounds doing a kip up. I mean, that's just incredible.
Not to mention
Absolutely
everything
incredible.
else. Not to mention everything else he does at that size.
No,
It's unbelievable.
exactly. Incredible. Now, again, I don't know whether this is true or not, but it states online, where obviously it must be true,
Where it must be
uh,
true.
must be, that Joey Ryan was his trainer.
I
Joey
saw that.
Ryan and Aaron Aguilera. I don't know that one at all. You may know Aaron Aguilera. I don't know, but Joey Ryan apparently was his main trainer. So
Aguilera, I know, wrestled. He's done some small stuff around California. He did Wrestling Society X. Did some WWE stuff too, from what I understand. Nothing too crazy, but he definitely made it to various stages around the circuit. So he's been around. He's been around for a long time.
yeah, so I mean, let's face it, he's definitely had some good trainers. As we know, Joey, although is known as the Dick guy these days. At the
Not
end of the day,
anymore. Not anymore now. Let's
true, actually, yeah,
for
you're right, you're
context.
right. But Guy can definitely go. He's a
Yes,
very, very proficient wrestler. So the fact that he's billed as one of Willie's trainers, I think, is a really, really cool thing. Um, Now his debut was back in 2006. Now that's. I mean, he's definitely a veteran of the ring. I mean, 2006. I mean, that's a good 14 years, isn't it? So you're talking.
yeah.
He's been around a while. Before he sort of kind of obviously made his way onto a national TV scene.
Hmm.
Um, you know, in the last couple of years, he's really, really done. You could say he's kind of done his time, can't you?
Absolutely. And if you think about it, put it in context, he's 33 years old, and he started 14 years ago. I mean, 19, he got
Yeah.
started. He's been in the game for a long time. That's pretty impressive.
It is definitely, and like you say, when you talk about his size and everything else, he does. I was reading through. He's not actually been injured much either.
Right,
Uh,
right.
so he obviously really knows how to look after himself. He obviously stretches well. He trains
Hmm.
well. So I mean, that's an impressive thing to go on. Now there is quite a long list of independent wrestling promotions as well that he's been with. So you've got Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Obviously, we've just hit on their AAW.
Hmm.
House of Hardcore, the Crash down in Mexico. I mean, that's just to mention a few. And let's face the facts: wherever he goes, he seems to win a title.
Yeah,
Um, Again, I think that speaks volumes for him as a professional. That whatever promotion he goes to, they seem to have faith in him to carry a title, and I think that that says it all really. Um, he's also appeared with NWA. I think
hmm
he become the North American champion or something
he
along those lines. I
he
think.
was he was the North American champion right before coming to Impact. So or the national champion, I should say. And and I know there was a little bit of controversy. I don't know if that's on your list to discuss. There was a little bit of anger from Nick Aldis when he left NWA. He kind of threw some shade at Impact Wrestling for signing Willie, I guess, after that run. It was a little weird, a bit uncalled for me, but all this is bitterness towards Impact is a whole other episode. But um, I know Willie's at. I mean, I know Willie felt he made the right decision leaving at the time, so it was the right thing to do for him.
Was he actually? I mean, I didn't realize he was actually physically signed to NWA though. I thought it was.
I think this is before they start doing their weekly show that they do now,
Yeah,
which is on YouTube. Before that, so I don't know if there was actual contracts rather than just appearances and agreements. So he may not have been formally signed, and this was actually a signing to Impact. So I think
yeah,
that's where the difference came in. I believe no, and obviously we don't know the ins and outs of his contract, but from what I understand, once NWA started doing the weekly show, that's when more contractual agreements came to play, and then
right.
Willie was there during a different time.
Exactly, and of course, everyone's entitled to make a decision on where they want to go. So,
Right.
and if he felt that Impact was the place for him, then that's his decision to make.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, and of course, he was a huge part of the Lucha Underground. Um, kind of sort of cinematic style wrestling show, wasn't he, as well?
Mm-hmm.
Now, being in the UK, I've never even seen any of Lucha stuff. I've sort of kind of seen snippets and clips and stuff like that on YouTube that I've come across, and I've done different bits and pieces, and I quite like what I saw. I quite like that kind of style, but we've not actually had full episode seasons of that over in the UK at the moment.
Right.
I'm hoping that at some point, it turns up on Netflix or one of the sort of kind of online channels.
It's actually streaming for free on the Tubi app. I don't know if you have that. Tubi. Tubi is an app on the PlayStation Network and Roku, and the whole show is on Tubi. I've been told to watch. I only watched season 1. Everybody tells me to watch the rest of it, so I should one of these days. So it is for free on Tubi if anyone's interested.
Excellent, brilliant.
Yeah.
And of course, you'll get to see the incredible Willie on there too.
Absolutely.
Which is good, along with lots of other Impact stars.
Quite a bit.
Now, interesting enough, Willie was sort of kind of first mentioned by Rich Swann around about October 2018. Now, he was obviously going to be his tag partner, which sort of at the coming up Bound for Glory pay-per-view at that time. And they ended up facing Ethan Page and Matt Sydal when they were doing the whole Third Eye gimmick thing going on at that time. Willie and Rich went on to win the match. And I don't know if you remember the match too well, but it was a bit of a blinder. It was a hell of a match. Do you remember it at all?
Well, I remember the Bound for Glory match you're talking about, right? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one. That was their first big introduction, because what happened was Rich brought, I think it was literally like the Impact before
he announced
that
them,
Bound for Glory. He was sort of kind of like he was the mystery partner kind of thing.
I was actually there, and just for I was at that Bound for Glory. I have my commemorative pen from that Bound for Glory that they gave me a very fancy Bound for Glory pen from that Bound for Glory 2018. I met the scumbag in person at that one, yeah, we were there live. I remember seeing that debut. It was he got a huge pop. People were chanting like crazy. The Return of the Mac chant was going like crazy. So it was nice to see his debut. It was pretty fun. But yeah, it was. If you think like in context, him and Rich have been going back since the beginning. So that Rich Swann partnership has been going back 1.5 years, almost 2.
Yeah. I think it's almost like, I think it was probably the original plan was that they were going to be a solid tag team. I think what sort of kind of like came after that though was that we started to see Willie appearing regularly. I mean, he on the weekly show of Impact. And I think alongside Rich most of the time, because obviously they were sort of kind of tag team. They were best friends.
Mm-hmm.
It was Rich that was bringing him in to the promotion, and I think that we started to see a couple of singles matches, but we also saw a nice chemistry build between Rich and Willie. And clearly, Rich was the mouthpiece at that time,
right?
And sort of kind of like I think giving Willie the rub to sort of kind of push him along on the roster. I'm not sure he necessarily needed it too much, because like you said, when he debuted, he did get one hell of a pop. So but I think it's nice to have Rich there, because I think that certainly helped him with the promotion, the promo side of it.
Absolutely.
I mean, we'll hit onto some of that a little bit later, but I think that certainly helped bolster him in there. So he had quite a few matches early on. He had a lot of single stuff going on, and then he started appearing really every single week. I mean, we started seeing those single matches, and there was quite a lot of them. Then we saw I'm trying to remember one of my standout matches, which was a losing match, in fairness, but it was a hell of a match nonetheless. Was with Rich himself. There was if you remember rightly, there was a singles debut between Rich and Willie, and that was a hell of a match as well, because I think they've obviously been working together before, and they really put on a show. Do you remember that match?
I do, and I loved it because it was such a complementary match of style. They complement each other's styles so well. These two, they're very different, but they definitely have a great synergy, and that's a Willie Mack and Rich Swann. Imagine the feud. Imagine what we thought maybe would have been the eventual feud between these two, like a long run feud, which is still not out of the question. But imagine something like that. I can only imagine how awesome that series of matches could be just based on this one you're talking about.
Oh yeah, without doubt. I think it would be one hell of. I mean, the chemistry was incredible.
Chemistry is
Um,
great.
oh yeah, but obviously we then saw a little run of singles matches going on, but with Willie. But eventually, for me, one of the best matches that I've seen with them as a tag team has to be the match that they ended up with the Lucha Brothers. Now,
Yes.
Willie Mack, Lucha Brothers. Now that was oh my god, that was an outstanding match, and I think really showcased how good Rich and Willie could be as a tag team.
We tend to forget that Willie spent a lot of time in Mexico also. So he has experience working against these guys and that style. So the key is Willie knows how to work that style. He knows how to adapt to, and again, a testament to the guy's ability at that size. You'd never expect him to be able to. It's just you don't your mind doesn't go to that. But when you see him pull that off and he can hang with a fast-paced lucha group, it's fantastic. And I think that's a real testament to the guy's ability. And Rich, obviously, we know he definitely works primarily that style, but Rich can also work a heavyweight style. So these two are the perfect combination for a team, in all honesty.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think you're right there. I think they potentially would be an incredible tag team champion, and I'm sure that at some point that could possibly be in the future.
Sure.
But what we saw, I mean, that obviously happened towards the tail end of 2018. So we've gone through pretty much 2018. I mean, to be fair, he debuted in October, so we didn't have a
Yeah.
massive amount right there. And then we move into 2019, and Willie really starts to have many, many singles matches. Many occasions he had the fans making statements along the lines of, best match of the night,
Hmm.
showstopper matches, but 4 or 5 star matches that he's having. But we don't get to see a lot of Willie sort of kind of on the mic or
Right.
promoing and stuff like that, because I think obviously at this moment he's not ready for that. This is national TV. He's not quite ready. I don't think he's quite ready to sort of kind of like stand alone at that point, which is again why Rich is around. You've got the best friend thing going on.
Absolutely.
You're still getting a lot of things backstage with Rich and Willie, and Rich is basically giving him the pep talks and geeing him on and come on, and you're the man and all this kind of stuff going on, which was great. But what is interesting is the physical abilities, which frankly you just don't see in a guy of Willie's size. Now, standing moonsaults to name one. I mean, a 280-pound man, 20 stone,
20
everybody.
stone. This is TNI
20
UK
man.
Bison. 20 stone. We don't talk pounds.
Exactly.
Everything's also in meters. Meters.
Man.
We talk meters only. Let's make sure we go to this.
Fair enough. But a 20-stone man able
Yeah,
to do a standing moonsault. I mean,
impressive.
that is impressive stuff. And that's just one of the amazing moves that the guy can do. I mean, all I know is that every time I see William, when I've seen him live, he impresses me from start to finish in his speed, his agility, his move set.
Hmm.
And once he gets going, he can throw four or five incredible, impactful moves together before you've even blinked. He's that quick. He just suddenly ups his pace and off he goes.
Yeah.
And the opponent just don't know what's going on, which is wonderful. It's a great for him. Now, I already mentioned it. His obviously mic skills, etc. Now, I do want to touch a little bit on his mic and his promo work, because I think this for me is probably his weaker area as a character.
Right.
I'm all for saying what an amazing guy he is in the ring, but I still want to touch on some of the things that I think possibly could improve. And in fact, I think they have improved dramatically in the last few months or so. But at that time, where we are at this moment in time, around the start of 2019 time, I think there is still a lot of room for improvement when when he's on the mic or doing a backstage promo.
Yep.
I'm not sure it's just I don't know. A lot of people say, "Oh, he's just real." I can buy that to a degree,
Right.
but I think that sometimes you have to. I don't know. You could be real, but You know, I think take a quote from The Rock. You have to be yourself, but just amp it up a little bit. You know,
Right.
there's nothing with being himself, but try and raise the bar a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's always been my thing with Willie, right? Is that I think the appeal and at the same time somewhat of the what holds things back is that realness, like that. And it's funny to say because it's kind of both. People take to Willie because he does come off as real. Like I love when he's talking to people and he's like, I'm gonna mess you up, man. Like that. I know people who talk like that. Like you better stay out of my damn way, or I'm gonna come in there and mess. Things. He basically talks to them like I know, like people do talk and casually and challenge people and converse with people. Just like within groups or on the street, whatever it may be. Um, but at the same time, there is a level of showmanship that I think people want to see from it. Like we are still watching a show, and you can
Yes.
still be an every man, but at the same time, I still want you to be a level above all of us. Yeah, you can talk like I want you to relate, but have that little level up where it's like, yeah, you still are. You're on TV. You're a star. Like if, for example, thinking what my producers had, if I were to produce him, I would guide that part of it more. I would focus a lot more on that. And I don't know what Impact's producers' mindset is when they're producing him, but for me personally, I would go with more of a targeted promo approach where like you could still be the common man, you could still be the everyday man, the relatable guy, but at the same time, you still need to have a little bit of fire in that. You need to have a little bit of showmanship within all that. Be yourself, but add this element to it. And I think that is right. And that's where Rich came in. You're right. Rich Swann comes in to kind of add that glare to it. But
Yeah.
with Rich being out, Willie was left to do that on its own. And we saw again how it kind of went back to that. But now, as X Division champion, it's his time to shine that back out. And we'll get to that, I'm sure. But he has to really shine that right back out. This is his moment to level it up now in the promo department.
I think what we can say is, though, for Willie, that 2019 was an incredible year for him. I mean, we had some incredible singles matches. We had some good stuff with him and Rich. But for me, the highlight of 2019, other than the fact, obviously, he became the Impact one to watch, for 2020 or whatever at the end of the year. For me, I think the standout moment was the incredible match between Willie and Rich versus LAX. Well,
Great
I like
match.
to call it LAX version 2. And I think the respect shown between the two teams was just awesome to watch. I mean, you just said you thought it was an awesome match, so clearly you enjoyed the match, right?
I did. I love that match. These two as a team have incredible chemistry. Willie, I mean, LAX, honestly, I've never seen LAX have a bad match. In their whole time in Impact, I think there was not a single bad match. But you can only imagine that same level of talent against Rich and Willie, it's unstoppable. But me personally, if I can throw in my favorite, I liked his match against Killer Cross. I liked the feud.
Yeah, that's good.
I like the feud he had with Cross. I like the backstage segments and the when Cross was kind of targeting Rich Swann, he was going through Willie to do it. If I had to highlight the 2019 one, that would be mine. I love. There's a specific promo where Cross goes up to him and he's like, Willie, do you like jazz music? And he's like, what? And he's like, do you know who likes jazz? Rich Swann likes jazz. It was like such a creepy promo, but it was like I loved. There's a scene when they're sitting on the stairs together, and it's just such a funny promo. It's so odd, but it's so great. I love that one. I mean, but he also had great matches. There was Willie and Rich against Elgin and Johnny. I'm trying to think what else. Willie and Sammy had a nice stretch. Willie and Elgin solo had a match. There was a lot of stuff. I mean, Willie really ran through the roster. Willie and Ego had a match. I'm trying to think who else. I mean, we had a lot of action from Willie in 2019. There was such a build to where he got in 2020.
Which is exactly why he ended up, I think, with the award for the one to watch in 2020.
Absolutely.
Because the bottom line is the guy, whenever he gets in that ring,
Yeah.
he delivers.
Absolutely.
He delivers without doubt. And he's what I would say is like, he's a go-to guy. You want a really, really good match on the show, you get Willie in. And it doesn't matter it honestly doesn't even matter who he's against. at the end of the day, it's going to be a great match because the guy is an incredible performer and he seems to be able to work with everybody. You know, like I said, I don't think he's had a bad match. I can't think of one.
You know, in some ways, and I love people's reaction to that. And anyway, listening, I love your feedback. This he reminds me, and I'm an old school guy. He reminds me a lot of Bobby Eaton. Bobby Eaton from the Midnight Express and solo career has been said to be the best mechanic, as they say, in wrestling history. I mean, the guy could work any style, make his opponent look like $1 million doing it. Never had the greatest body, never had the greatest appearance in terms of, never was a body guy, had a general look, but man, what a star. I mean, he can work with anybody and he can look great doing it. The guy was such a point A to point B player that was so crisp and perfect. And I see Willie Mack, and I'm like, man, he really does remind me of Bobby Eaton in that sense that you can put him in with anybody. Anybody can work with Willie Mack and have a good match. You won't have a bad match.
You know, the other person I think is of that ilk actually on the Impact roster is TJP. I think TJP is so clean and clinical.
Very clean.
In the ring. Again, you know, you very rarely see him having a bad match, you know, or making, you know, and he makes everybody that he performs with look amazing. Funny enough, in the interview I had with Dave Christ, we talked about how clinical TJP is as well, and I think you know, I think that's testament to how hard, you know, someone like Willie, you know, works on making sure that he is, you know, the most skillful he could possibly be at his craft. And yeah, no, I agree. There were some incredible matches in 2019, and that is exactly why he ended up with the you know, one to watch in 2020.
Yep.
Now, moving on from that, I mean, we sort of kind of, you know, get to the end of coming towards the end of 2019, and we start seeing the whole Swan and Willie Mack team really starting to come together again. We're getting lots of promos. You know, we're having guys sort of almost trying to get in there, and they're realizing that, man, there's some chemistry here, so we need to sort of kind of get in between these guys and that kind of thing going on. And obviously they had some incredible matches, and I thought the lead up to the Hard to Kill match in 2020, leading up to that, prior to obviously Rich getting his injury the night before Hard to Kill, I thought the build up to the match with the North was really, really good.
Fantastic.
You know, yeah, I mean, we had some incredible stuff going on there. I mean, we had the whole, you know, the doubt in Willie's mind where, you know, was he good enough to be, you know, tagging with Rich? There was all these sort of doubts being put in them, and there were all the mind games being played. And there was that match where you had Rich pretty much winning the match on his own because, you know, Willie got injured. I was there, actually. That was in New York, that one.
That was in New York,
And I got to say that there, when that was being recorded, and I'm sure it was a work, but, you know, because obviously, you know, to lead up to you know, again, creating doubt and all that kind of stuff. But I actually thought on the night when that was being recorded that Willie was injured. I honestly believed it. It was so it was worked so well that you know, actually in there at the taping itself, that I honestly thought, I mean, Rich's reaction, you know, you could see that he was.
It showed on TV.
Pissed off. Yeah,
it showed on TV too. Yeah. And
I
think, remind me if I'm wrong, I thought maybe you even messaged all of us to say I think Willie's injured. I think you might have messaged us and said, like, looks like he's hurt.
Yeah, I think he actually is injured. Yeah, and the way that was done was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. The skills, the acting, the way it was set up.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah, it was really, really good, and I honestly believed he was injured. I really did. So that was incredible. And of course, then that piles into obviously the start of 2020. And then unfortunately, Rich actually does get injured the night before Bound for Glory.
Hard to kill. Well, sorry, 2 nights before.
Sorry, Hard to Kill. Yeah.
2 nights
Oh,
before Hard to
2
Kill.
nights.
Yeah, it was at a house show 2 nights
Yeah.
before. I was there. I went down. I did not go to the show he got injured at because that was in San Antonio, but I was at the Dallas show the next day, which was the showcase and still the fan fest they did Saturday, where we saw Rich. They weren't sure what the diagnosis was at that point just yet fully. Nurse Nicole took a look at him. We know him from here, obviously. She checked him out and she wrapped his leg and she said, "No, I think you need to go to the hospital. This is worse than you think it is." So she wrapped him up. She stabilized it, and he did go to the hospital after the fan fest, and they confirmed that it was broken. So we definitely kept in touch with him all weekend and made sure what was going on. So we were in touch with him and Sue and everything. But so yeah, that happened 2 nights before. So yeah, as we know, at Hard to Kill, Willie went at it alone against the North, and for the tag team titles, which was.
For me, that is one of the best handicap matches I've ever seen.
I was there live, and I think the entire crowd thought he was going to take it to win the titles.
Yeah.
It was the destroyer he did from the top rope on Josh. There was something to be said. I can't even put into words the way that if anyone has not seen this, go back and watch Hard to Kill. Because there's a move Willie does on Josh Alexander that will, honestly, you could even see it in the crowd's response. The entire arena came unglued. It was unbelievable what that was.
Oh.
But his pacing as a handicap match, phenomenal. I can't even put it into words. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, the story told was incredible. And it was a good 20-25-minute match as well. I mean, it was a long match. He really, he was getting a beating, and then he would come back, and then he was getting another beating, and he was coming back, and and like you say, the destroyer off the top, that was just absolutely outrageous. And I remember the following day on social media, the amount of GIFs or whatever, the amount of
all over the place.
video that was just everywhere. And I defy, and I say this all the time, but I defy any fan of pro wrestling to tell me that Impact do not put out incredible matches, because that was a prime example of how incredible some of the matches we get to see on Impact shows. And again, the Hard to Kill pay-per-view, it was a sellout. What was it? There must have been 4,500, 5,000 people there.
I think Hard to Kill, I wouldn't say 5. I'd say a little closer to maybe 3,000. 3,000, okay. I'd say maybe. Yeah, it's a 3,000 seater. Remember, it's a concert theater, but you have a ring in the middle, right? And you have a stage and ring, so you do lose some of that, what would be packed in standing room for a concert venue. I'd say about 3,000, maybe 3,500, including everything, including the top balcony area. So it was a great crowd, though. The crowd was fantastic. I could see why they've gone back to Texas as much as they have. Texas is really good to them, and I think it's a town they should focus on more, to be honest. I think it's a state they should focus on more, because Texas really did take the Impact really well. But I loved it. Hard to Kill was a fantastic show.
Yeah, I'd love to have been there to see
historic, that. A very historic show. A lot of history on that show. Also for the reason that it was the last pay-per-view before the worldwide shutdown as well. It was the final one that actually aired live on pay-per-view, as opposed to like Rebellion we got, and I'm sure you'll bring that up in a second. But
yeah, we'll get there in a second.
Yeah, but go ahead.
No, that was one hell of a show. For me, it was probably, as much as I love the Sammy and Tessa story coming to a head, and for me the feel good thing with Tessa winning in the end and all that kind of stuff. For me, this was probably the best match on the card. It certainly was the one that I was the most invested in a sense of it was just. I don't know. I found myself literally on the edge of my seat for the whole time, and there was, and although it was a good 20-minute match, 25-minute match, to me it felt like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I can see, and live, I'll tell you what, live it had that feeling too, because it did feel like it should be a lot longer. or if it felt short, it was a long match, but it felt short because you were just so in the frenzy of, I think this is going to be it. I think he will actually be taking this. Like we thought it was it. So
Yeah.
I think because of that, it was like we were so caught up in the moment that we didn't realize how long it actually was, even though it was, because it felt so short.
It was incredible,
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. And I think I take my hats off to Willie for that match and the North
Okay.
as well.
Oh,
At the end of the day, all three of those guys put on an incredible show. Um, I suppose it's just that that was because it was Willie against 1-on-2. He gets the sort of kind of the big praise, I guess. But yeah, all three of them put on an incredible show for that match, and it was definitely one of my favourites of that night, without doubt. Now, obviously, since that, Willie's now sort of pretty much been on a winning streak. Because I don't think since then, I don't think he's lost a match. I was going through some of the matches that he's had. I honestly don't think he's lost a match since Hard to Kill.
And while you're saying that, I'm actually going to verify that. I'm going to take a look at that as well while you're talking. I'm curious now because I think you might be right. Because obviously we got a little sporadic. We had a couple of tapings after that, but we got a bit sporadic after that because of everything that went down. So you might be right. You might be actually right. Well, yeah, but continue on. Now you got me curious because I think you are right because he went on a hell of a tear since then. Yeah.
No, I don't think he's lost a match since then. And so I mean, we saw.
You're right, by the way. I'm looking at the record now, the win-loss record, and he has won every match since Hard to Kill. Right? Yeah, exactly. Since Hard to Kill, he has won every single match he's had. That's That's a fantastic stat, actually. And we're sitting here on June 1st, recording this. So that's a nice streak actually on TV.
Good, isn't it? Yeah. So he's been on the winning streak. But he's had a few people wanting to become his tag partner because obviously Rich has been on the sick note, been on the injury list.
This is fun.
Including none other than friend of TNI himself, Mr. Johnny Swinger.
Swing?
The swing man. And Daddy. And I have to say that his idea of the Mac and Pack connection could have been legendary. I mean, what do you think?
I put it this way, and I might be biased. Anything Johnny Swinger does, I'll endorse tenfold, just because I laugh every time he's on screen, and just the interaction between him and Willie was just like, who the hell? What? He basically was like, what the hell have I gotten myself into? And
it was crazy.
I just love it because it's that natural thing of like when you have somebody who really wants to be your friend and you want to keep them as an acquaintance. That literally what it was to me. I was like, he wants to be his best friend. He's like, I don't want to hang out with you. Like, you're cool to see maybe at work. You're cool to see when we go out, but I don't really want to be your friend. I love it because we've all been there. We've all had someone try to be more than just an acquaintance. So that's exactly what it was. I think it's hilarious. Swinger, it's a revitalization in the later part of this last decade after being, he's nearly a 30-year veteran, and it's incredible to me. Johnny Swinger being where he is at today is phenomenal.
Yeah, I seriously want to do a Johnny Swinger Impacted because I think we got so much to talk about. Because again, another guy that you don't realise, but he's on every single episode of Impact.
Keep in mind also, he was also in the original TNA as well. He had to run the Asylum years. He's a former tag team champion, which they don't point out enough about Johnny Swinger. I wanted to mention that he is a former tag team champion in the company. But hey, listen, if you ever do a Johnny Swinger one, that's definitely going to be a long episode. I really want, because I would love for you to cover the original TNA run that he had as well, and then the gap, and then obviously coming back. So, but that's another episode for another time.
And a long one. You're right.
Sure.
Definitely. So obviously, we got to that. We got the Mac and Pack thing going on, and we then see Ace Austin sucking up to Willie and trying to get into his head to begin with. Then with the Reno Scum boys backing him up, and we start to see then, when Willie sort of like saying, "Man, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. I don't need another tag partner. I've got a tag partner. I'm not interested in that."
Right.
And then, we start to realize that all he's trying to do is, kind of like put him off the scent of doing anything other than tag teaming.
Well, let me jump in. That start around February in the Las Vegas tapings. That's when that kind of started. These guys are both Vegas Ace Austin, Bill from Vegas, Willie Mack, Vegas guy. Willie won that contendership tournament in that incredible match against H. Romero, Chris Bay, Jake, Daga, Jake Christ, Rohit, and Trey. If you remember that match, that was a fantastic X Division match. So that Willie winning that one and getting the contendership was the start of this trajectory with Ace, causing all this last run with Ace. So that was, we got a peak and pinpoint at the February of this year is when that all started. Which crazy to think, Bison, that was 4 months ago. That seems like it was 2 weeks ago to me. 4 months have passed. But we've also been in a pandemic in the meantime.
Exactly, it's incredible. Yeah. But again, I think that's also a testament to the way that Impact are able to sort of kind of like go away from a story, but then sort of kind of come back to it again, and everything sort of kind of ties in. Somewhere along the line, there's going to be a connection. It's not just random. And I think that is a really good aspect of some of the storytelling that we start to see, that we see now on a weekly basis from Impact. Now, obviously, this all comes to a head when Reno Scum apparently turns up at Rich Swann's house. Gives him a bit of a beating or whatever it was. We don't really know exactly what, because you didn't really see it, did you? You just heard it.
We assume that he got his ass kicked.
Yeah, that's what we assume. Yeah, we assume he got an ass kicking to keep him away from. Obviously, to keep him away. We then obviously, that friendship is always going to be there. They say, you're not going to break up Rich and Willie. It's not going to happen. Right. That was great. So then, obviously, unfortunately, we start getting into where we are now with the pandemic tapings, and of course that all starts off with Rebellion Part 1. Rebellion Part 1 is where we see the big match for the Triple X Division Championship, obviously with Ace Austin versus Chocolate Thunder himself, and of course, ending with Willie becoming the X Division champion for the first time.
Beautiful moment.
Of course, it was a beautiful moment, and I gotta say, he hasn't worn them since, actually. But what did you think of those purple eye things?
I liked it. So I talked to Basil, who's one of my best friends, and he's the photographer for Impact. So he told me about the look that he was going for. And I think Impact crew is amazing about, if you notice, every pay-per-view, the crew all gets new gear. If you notice that, everybody comes with fresh gear every pay-per-view or something fresh to their look. Willie went with that for his look. I liked it. It doesn't really fit any character profile. It was more of something for the night, which I liked. It was kind of special, I guess. It doesn't really fit for him to do it all the time. A factoid I pointed out though was that he won the title in the same city that the title originated in. After a long time, the title changed hands in Nashville, which it hadn't for a long time. The X Division title started in Nashville, and he won it in Nashville. And from what I know, and from what I know, because just knowing who I know and everybody at the company, he grew up watching TNA. So this was extra special to him as a kid. Because remember, Willie's 33 years old. TNA's been around 18 years. So consider the fact that he was 13, 14, 15 years old when the company was going. This is the wrestling he grew up on. And that's one thing people forget to realize. The Impact roster today grew up with TNA. That's why they're such big fans of it. They're all in their early to mid 30s. This was the wrestling that was on TV. WCW was gone. It was WWE and TNA. So Willie Mack grew up as a TNA fan, and this was an extra special moment for him to become the X Division champion because he watched that belt start and take off and see it on these guys he looked up to. So I think I love stories like that. To me, it's a feel-good moment It's a TV show. We know it's a TV show. We get it. But at the same time, there is that sense of like, it's pretty cool to know that like you went from being a kid watching that belt to now holding that belt in the same town it originated. That, to me, that's the extra little special part of it. It's like, man, the title started here, and it's like I wanted it here. That's kind of cool. So
that's the cherry on the cream, right?
it is a little bit. I love a story like that. To me, that's there is still a bit of that's what makes wrestling special, is that we know it. The curtain's been pulled back on it so much, but those moments are what we can relate to, because we all can put ourselves in that seat to say, man, if you gave me that moment, it would be special, because I watched that belt, when I grew up. I watched that title. I saw AJ Styles become the first champion, and now I get to be the champion. It's kind of cool, So, and from
very
that,
cool.
very feel-good feeling, coming out of that.
Definitely. Now, what we then obviously I don't think we saw Willie the following week. Or yes, we did. We saw him in a promo with Rich, didn't we?
Yeah.
They obviously went off and partied and all that kind of stuff. We then the week after, obviously Rebellion Part 2. The week after Rebellion Part 2, we saw Ace basically getting his rematch, but with an addition of Chris Bay, who funny enough, I got his t-shirt on.
T-shirt, Chris Bay t-shirt. Your buddy Chris Bay interview available on TNI UK on the Total Nonstop Impact channel, done by Bison himself. The Chris Bay interview, so go check that out.
That's a cool. That was a good interview as well. So yeah, that was really cool. So we obviously ended up being injected into that match. I think he was there to. I guess he was there to take the pin, really, because I guess they want Willie to retain, but at the same time they need to keep Ace strong, because I guess they've got plans for Ace, as we could see now, as we sort of kind of led into this whole world title contendership thing. So it was good. So obviously Willie ended up retaining, which is great, and now obviously he's now on a run, and I can see this going on for at least the next set of tapings. Maybe once Rich gets introduced back in, we might possibly see them reunite again. Who knows? It's very difficult to say, isn't it? Because I think there was one trajectory for them, which was, I think, to end up as tag team champions. I honestly believe that was the ultimate goal at that point. That obviously couldn't happen, so they've now gone in another way, and Willie's ended up taking on the X Division. So you can't have him now lose the X Division really quickly if Rich comes back. So he's going to end up having a little bit of a run on the X Division title, and who knows, maybe they'll still get together and end up him being X Division champion and winning the tag belts as well. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think is going to go with it?
I think, to me personally, he's very lovable, Rich, but man, you have the stage set for a nice turn for Rich. That he encouraged him only because he knew how to beat him. So he wanted to get the belt on him, because I know all your ins and outs, and if anyone's gonna beat you, who knows how to beat you, it's gonna be me. It's gonna be a little tough seeing Rich as a heel, if that's where it goes. But the story is there. There is a potential story in that. I'd love to see where it goes. Right now, obviously, like you said, they're keeping him busy with Chris Bay. Johnny Swinger's now aligned himself with Chris Bay. We got a little bit going on in that sense. But like I said, we'll see where the Rich Swann element is the most interesting element. It's a wild card. And that's kind of where we leave off at this point, because that's where we're at today. We're in June of 2020. Swann is not officially back yet as of what will be tomorrow's. Right. So we're kind of on the road to what would be the road to Slammiversary, which is obviously depending on pandemic restrictions. Will it be an attended show or empty arena show? Who knows? But at this point, we're on the road to Slammiversary. Does Rich Swann play a factor? Does he not play a factor? What happens? But for the first 6 months of the year, January to June, and in between that midpoint, there's a title change, and then he becomes a champion. I think this has been a nice. We're first half of the year, pretty successful year, because especially because Impact kept rolling through all this. Impact kept going through everything. it wasn't like he had 100 matches for them, but Impact at least kept him on TV. He was around. The company kept taping, so we had something to keep the ball rolling. So that leads us here, and we're pretty much now. It's part of a great point to be doing, because now we're at that road to Slammiversary, and then the second half of, there might even be a Willie Mack part 2 at some point for Impacted, to see how the rest of the year panned out.
See, the only thing that worries me is if you end up with a feud with Rich and Willie, then you how can you go back to them potentially being a tag team?
Oh, come on, we've seen reunions all the time. Tag team reunions, there's money in the reunion. You know, that big moment where I mean, come on, growing up as a kid, when some of those moments where the feuded tag team, eventually the guy looks back at his former partner being beat down, and he just looks at him and he goes in for that save. It's like, oh, I still remember what it was like, and you reunite. Oh, big money in the reunion. Never doubt the reunion. The reunion's got money in it. You can do that.
Okay.
But here's the thing: you make it a blood feud. You go hard on the feud. If you go in all this, it's got to be a feud that goes for a while, and then they stay apart for a while, and then you get that twinge of, I remember what it was like. And then you bring back that team. There's a lot of ways you can go about it. Again, we don't know which way they're going to go, but for now, he's the X Division champion. He had a hell of a run in just not even 2 years in Impact Wrestling, year and a half. I think it's been a great run. I think he's very happy. He re-signed his deal. We can mention that too. He did renew his contract.
Yeah, he did.
So he re-signed his contract. So he's a long-term player, man. That's what you want. You want long-term players in Impact Wrestling. Willie Mack's going to be one of them, and I couldn't be happier to have him on the team.
Yeah, I think, he's an incredible addition to the roster. And like you said, he's definitely a team player as well. He's there for the long term. He's there for the long run. And, he's gonna really do his best work. And I, for one, cannot wait to see where Willie goes from here. Because I think he's got one hell of a future. And I must admit, I love watching him. So, and I love, like I say, I love his realism. We've talked about it. I do love his realism. I just want him to maybe hype his realism up a little bit, and that would just sort of kind of like be the icing on the cake for me.
Just add the polish, add a little bit of the polish to the realism, and then you have that real people's hero. Then you got that real voice of the people, because then it becomes he's not just one of the people. He's a voice. He's one level higher now. He's like, oh man, I can look up to him, because that was the appeal of a guy like Steve Austin, for example. Steve Austin's appeal was he talked like the average redneck. He spoke but he did it with a real glitz that it became admirable. I was like, wow, the guy's a star. Like I'm like, because everybody thought like I can relate to that guy, but he did it. He did a little higher to a level. It's like, man, I want to be like that guy. I'm this close to being like him. So that's where you really hook onto somebody. Willie could be that, no question about it.
So I'm going to let you into a secret. Stone Cold is my all-time favorite wrestler. Like, there is no one that beats Stone Cold for me. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't do an impression of Stone Cold. So I know that you're really good. Obviously, doing an impression of Sammy, right?
Wait. Are you telling me? Wait a minute. Are you telling me with your British accent, you're gonna do a Texas impression? Is that what you're telling me right now?
I'm gonna try.
Well, should we give that away on this show? Should we keep that as a guy? We should hype this, Bison. We should hype this. Talking to the boss here. Let's make some money off of this now. We should make this a special bonus clip. And we should say, do you want to see Bison cut a Stone Cold promo in Bison style? We don't want to give that away. We can't give away.
Okay. All right. I'll do a special recording of that.
Special recording, and then we get it on, and we'll get it onto the social media. But go ahead. Let's put the bow on this one. We covered it. Willie Mack. We're at the tapings here tomorrow. We go. We're gonna finish up the last tapings air tomorrow night. Air on June 2nd. 2020, right. and then we're on the road to Slammiversary. So now it's a good place. Now the stamp is here. Willie, Chris Bay, Johnny Swinger feud. Now let's see where we go.
Exactly. Let's see where we go from there. So that pretty much wraps up this edition of Impacted. I just want to say a huge thank you to the boss, Trent for jumping in and filling in for the Joker, and we just want to wish him all the best for his recovery while he's in hospital. Send him all the love in the world. So yeah, just make sure that you give us this video a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Leave us a comment, whether it be positive or negative. It doesn't make any difference to us. We love the feedback.
No thumbs down. No thumbs down. I'm going to send the scumbag to your houses personally to take care of it.
Fair enough. But we love the feedback. Let's get some love. Let's get plenty of love for the show. And obviously leave us a contact. I mean, if there's anything that you want to say about the show, anything you want to add in there about Willie Mack, we're quite happy to continue the conversation in the comments below. And if you're a first-time listener to Impacted or TNI, any of the TNI content, get that word, get me words right, get me tongue-tied here. Don't forget to head over to the TNI YouTube channel, give us a sub, smash the bell to never miss a listen. And what I was going to say was, where can we find you, Trent? Where can we find you on the socials?
Guys, just find me through the show at We Talk Impact on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just type in We Talk Impact or Total Nonstop Impact Podcast. It all comes up on all the main social medias. Same with YouTube. The main channel, type in Total Nonstop Impact. Give us a sub. We are now on our own channel. If anybody doesn't know, we have our own show. We broke away from the Impact Lounge a few months ago. So you'll see historic shows will be there. Everything, all the other current content's there. That includes the weekly flagship show of Impact Wrestling. We do an Impact Wrestling review 30 minutes after Impact goes off the air every Tuesday night. We do a NWA TNA throwback every Monday night. We're currently on episode number 27. That's airing today. We do Bison's got TNI UK with Impacted and also Bison Talks Impact. So we talk where he does superstar interviews, and then he'll do Bison Talks Impact, the thoughts of the week. Also, we're doing that on weekends. And also, guys, we do the Impact Plus Weekly every Saturday or Sunday night, depending on when they release Explosion. We break down Explosion, Around the Ring, various news, and general discussion about Impact Wrestling. So Total Nonstop Impact is putting out stuff nearly 7 days a week at this point. We're firing on all cylinders. The Impact crew is listening. We appreciate all the wonderful fans listening. So, guys, connect with us like Bison said. Leave your feedback. We welcome it all. And don't forget, ProWrestlingTees.com/Total Nonstop Impact. T-shirts are there, and we'll definitely be getting Bison a shirt one of these days too. We'll design something up.
It's interesting. I've ordered my flaming microphone one. It's on its way. It takes a little while to get it to here, but I'm gonna do an unboxing for you guys.
Okay, great.
Because I've also got the mystery thing as well, so I'd be interested to see what I get in the mystery, wouldn't it? I don't know. It could be anything. So I'm looking forward to finding out what that's going to be. But yeah, so if you're looking to find me, the Bison, I'm generally available on Twitter at Lord Bison 45. I tend to, I do a little bit on the old Facebook, Jason Hawk on Facebook if you want to find me on there. But generally, I tend to do most of my talking on the Twitter box. So yeah, please give me a follow. I love talking to anybody about Impact Wrestling. It's my favorite subject. So, and I love sharing people's thoughts too. So, don't hesitate to follow me, follow the show, follow Trent, follow J-Bone, follow the scumbag Kyle, follow us all, and you'll never miss anything. So,
I want to put one thing out to your listeners here, Bison. Do you guys want Bison to make a separate feed that just focuses, like I know you put it there under Lord Bison, but should he do an Impact, a TNI UK account? Because I know Impact has the regular Impact UK account. Should we separate up? Do you guys want to see? Because Bison is doing a lot of content now. He's got the interviews, he's got Impacted coming. We're doing Impacted more. The Bison Talks Impact weekly thoughts. You're putting a lot of content out. We want to keep. Do we want to division this off, guys? Do our UK listeners want this to have a separate feed? Give us your feedback. If so, Bison, I'll work with you to get that all set up, and we'll link everything up together. We'll figure something out. But I want to hear from the people. If the UK feed, we want to keep a separate social, which we will all kind of retweet and everything like that. Everything will kind of go together, of course, but it'll be sister accounts where they'll be feeding off each other. But a good way to know what the UK is doing, the UK team is doing, and then as the US team is doing, and then we all obviously retweet and link each other, tag each other. You know how it is. But because the listenership is going up, Bison. You have helped the listenership in the UK come up. So hey, I want to know what the UK listeners want to hear. So we'll see what happens.
It would be great. It would be great. Okay, well that wraps up for today. Thank you ever so much to the boss, Trent. And this has been Willie Mack's version of Impacted.